Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We're your hosts. I'm Joe.
And I'm Randy.
This is episode 156 of the show, and the date is Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. You know, Rumble, sometimes when we start, it reacts quicker than YouTube.
Right.
Today, I was waiting for that intro vid to stop, and then the kind of the gray dice that we use to appear so I can hit
the
intro music.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was like waiting. And then I was like, okay, I'm done waiting. And I hit it. And then it shows up. So I
gotta love it. I don't know. We got any rumblers out there? I said hello, don't see anybody. I'm on Twitch. Oh, if I go to Twitch, apparently it starts running it, so I was getting a lot of echo. So, what are Twitchers called? Twitchers.
I guess.
I don't know.
Twitchers.
Dude, Green Apple's in the house. Crafting Gamer, hello, sir. Oh, look, my Twitch comment shows up here too.
Yes, because you can choose for all destinations in the pull down, or actually pull up, or you can just have it target YouTube or just Twitch.
Okay.
Yes.
Patrick Demo is here. He says he's got a forced time off. They need to force him to be off on the weekend of our big Geek Con, because that is going to rule beyond imagining. Yeah, we got Iron Man and Inflating. Phone Guy, what's up, dude?
Hey, Phone Guy.
Who else is here? Ryan David. Green Apple, you coming to Big Geek Con? I thought you maybe had talked about it. I'm not sure. And Halcyon 8 showed a little bit. Darth Theic, he's going to be there. Oh, you Darth Theic fans, I know you're out there. Darth is going to be live and in charge.
How Darth is going to show up in the Darth outfit?
He's going to show up with the Force.
I know what Darth Vader's outfit is, but what is Darth Theic's outfit? Does he have one of those machines that breathe for him and all that stuff?
He's way too cool for that. He don't need no machine. He's all about au natural.
Well, neither did what's his nuts? The dude in the third trilogy. He wore his getup just to look like Darth Vader. He didn't even need it.
Dude, my followers are building on X. I'm an X-Man now, so I'm on X. And Martinson has followed me, and apparently Ryan David and Gabby has. I'm not sure I know who Gabby is, but I appreciate. That's
someone who talks a lot.
Right, Gabby. I'm sure it's a relation. Maybe it's one of the ladies on Nerd Cognitos. I think they handle the Twitter spaces for them. Or the mutant spaces, since it's X now. That's what I'm calling Twitter. It's going to be called X in the mutant spaces. That's right. I'm glad he switched.
You're glad? Well, I don't know if he did. I don't know if it was his idea or was it the person he put in charge.
Dude, come on.
Didn't he assign the CEO?
Yeah, come on, you know he runs that stuff. He paid how many?
No, he
How many?
doesn't.
How many?
No,
How
he
many?
did it first. At this point, he's probably doesn't care anymore.
It's all he does every day. Oh, phone guy says we're assuming Gabby's gender. Yeah, but I think Ryan has confirmed it's one of the ladies. He talks about the ladies handling the
It's
mutant
not
files.
currently illegal in the U.S. generally to misgender somebody.
It should never be, and if it is, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah,
Because as soon as they make it illegal, I will be doing it all the time on purpose.
Yeah.
I'll be calling Joe a she and a her.
it's gonna. I mean, unless the feds step in and take my case when I won't because that's stupid. I mean,
Patrick Demo is looking for a nut punch. He says X-Men also might be construed as you coming out as trans. Look, X-Men are comic book heroes, at least pre-2012. I don't know what they are now.
So you were correct in who
What's
Gabby was.
Right.
Because Ryan is confirming her gender.
Unlike you, I like Ryan and Kyle and Bert, and I actually listen to them because they have lots of good information to put up. You guys should just ignore Joe. He's not a true fan like me.
Of who?
Nerd Cognito. Come on now. Come on now.
Who?
Come on. Lady has a good question. He says I thought Michigan was the like $20,000 fine for wrong pronouns. Yeah, that's not going to last very long. That's a dream within a dream.
I think it's already in litigation, isn't it? The legitimacy of that.
I think it was 2 days later after Governor Bozo brought that down.
Right.
So yeah, that's doomed. She's just flexing for her idiot fans.
You know what? This conversation kind of, even though it doesn't have any relation to gaming, we can segue.
Let's seg
into our mini topic, because there was recently an article over on, is it Dote Sports or Dot? It's probably Dote Sports.
That's where
esports. Esports.
Esports, yeah.
Esports.com. Apparently, because somewhere, somehow in the infinite multiverse that is D&D, it matters that there is now a canonically autistic D&D character in one of their books that they're selling. It never mattered before a few years ago, those things, whether they were canonically anything, because everything canon is being turned on its ear anyway. So does canon even matter? Why would they even use that word? These people in this article, titling this article, canon is irrelevant. So calling something canon is odd. It's
not always been so. Now, once WotC got a hold of D&D, they started screwing with stuff. But they, especially in 4th and 5th edition, and they're trying to put their own stamp of approval on it. But Ryan David today talked about this particular situation with this, what is she supposed to be? Autistic lady that's got a paladin who supposedly made the deck of many things. That thing is
supposedly not a self-insert, but it so is.
Yeah. And Legion says race as class was canon. It does change as the editions change a little bit, but that's more rules related. But I think once Greyhawk became the non-default setting for the D&D, so that would happen even during 2nd edition. I think canon became just sort of a weird thing. But what I find stupid is that, and look, guys, I have friends. I have had and have friends that are on that spectrum of autistic, and I don't wish them any ill will. I want them to play D&D. I play D&D with people that are on that spectrum. But what is the deal with certain people in the hobby wanting to push up front their trauma or their mental illnesses? What does that's my real big problem. I mean, changing canon, okay, they've been changing canon for a while, I agree, but this is utterly ridiculous. Could a person like her, I think they said this character got stuck on trying to solve a puzzle for days or something and forgot to eat. How do you become an adventurer doing that? How does that even happen?
Well,
that's ridiculous.
Also, she has hyperfixation, especially puzzles. Okay. It doesn't matter.
No.
Because everything they present as valid adventurers, they would probably all die horribly, especially those that are in wheelchairs and are still somehow adventurers. But if you have a disability, you're not going to have a good time out there.
Rarely. There'll be some disabilities you could overcome. Like you could have
because
a slight...
all the bad guy has to do to this paladin is have a puzzle on the wall. Hey, here's a puzzle. Then the assassin comes up and stabs him in the neck.
Just throw a Rubik's Cube at him.
Yeah. If it's known, apparently there's a book out.
Yeah.
So bad guys read books.
Flady says, according to the new DSM-5, that's the sort of the handbook of psychiatry issues. Almost the entire population has an active DX. I'm not sure what DX is. I need a little
diagnosis.
Help there. Ryan David, save versus Rubik's Cube.
Right. That's all they have to do. It's like in the reverse of when Batman, in that one awful version of the Batman and Robin, when he threw all the coins at Two-Face and made him flip out, which wouldn't happen, but it did in the movie. But that's what the bad guy could do to this paladin. Just throw Rubik's Cube or whatever.
And no, it's not that. And really, as I said, the problem is not the canon. And it's not even if you want to play an autistic character. Okay, knock yourself out. But it's like they want to. Why are they pushing this up front? It's like, I'm going to play a super fat paladin because I'm fat. How dumb is that? That's utterly dumb.
And so I found some parts of this article odd. She said, where is this at? It's so rewarding to see her experiences and get to reflect her experiences through notes in her story. Okay, this is an imaginary person who doesn't have experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's a imaginary. None of these experiences happen. You could that's such a weird quote.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that she's saying it because even though she denies it being essentially a self-insert, it is.
It's 100% self-insert.
Because the author of this book is autistic herself. Now, she may not have hyperfixation, but she is autistic herself and a woman. So female protagonist who's autistic isn't the self-insert. How does that work? That's weird.
Well, look, like who's that? Martinson says, I play D&D to play someone that is not like me. Right on. We have a friend who is blind and he plays D&D. I don't think he's ever played a blind character. And we literally asked him when the wheelchair thing came out, hey, would you want to play a blind character? No, that would be stupid.
So, yeah, and then there's this line here. It is important for the designers to consider how their world represents non-white, non-male, and non-neurotypical people in the world of Faerun. No, it's not important.
It is not important. It's not even remotely important.
Not in the general sense. Maybe they want to, but it's not in the general sense. That's
maybe at their table. Sure, knock yourself out. So
why is it? It says, okay, I think the sentence before that kind of indicates maybe the why. The real life tabletop becomes easier for members of other communities to join. How? That statement, those statements don't follow.
Look, we get some autistic characters. That means fat people are going to want to join. That means people that are sociopaths are going to want to join. That means that's stupid. Yeah,
it's just weird.
Yeah.
It resonates so much with the idea of the deck of many things being a thing that you use to change and alter fate, which it does, and challenge the perception of what a story should be. No, it doesn't do that.
No, it doesn't. It inserts a character that people wonder, like, how did you become a 12th level paladin? That's kind of weird.
I drew a card. Ha ha ha.
I guess that's it. I drew a card from the deck of many things, which I created. How weird. That doesn't make any, I don't know. Anyway, I just thought it was so silly. And to me, it was all pushing all these traumas and mental issues that they always do. And I would bring in the whole sexuality thing too. It's just not about the game. Who is interested? I guess they're interested in that. I mean, I guess that's fine.
So it's important to Wizards of the Coast, which is fine because it's their stuff. But acting like, I mean, the way that they say that there almost makes it out to be a general importance. It should be important to everybody.
Yeah. And, there's a good point to be made. I think Elle said it too. He said there's no one D&D world. Each table is its own world. And I think Joe was trying to say that when what is canon, because at each table it's different. I mean, I can take Greyhawk and I could have Elminster could be the head of the Circle of Eight. People be like, what are you doing? That's what I'm doing. It's my world.
There could be an Elminster running around who's a retard.
Yep.
Who's a beggar in the street that everybody meets, and he claims to be a wizard but can't do any magic. I mean, changing canon with an agenda is what I have an issue with.
Yeah, and to me, I think like I said, it's not the canon change. It's just I don't know why they're pushing these weird traumas and issues and mental problems and other issues. I mean, physical, whatever. I mean, I don't care if you play a person that's autistic. I don't care if you play a blind guy. I played a blind monk once, trying back in 3rd edition. I remember I told you I tried to build all these feats and be a blind, and I was decent, but I wasn't good. But it was fun because that's a concept from even like movies, right? Isn't like the blind martial artist kind of a thing?
Right. But the other problem I have with this is the idea that someone who has a mental illness, that mental illness is their identity.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is silly.
Why should anybody want that?
Yeah. Legion of Myth asked this. I did see the D&D movie. Didn't 5e put Morning Canaan in Forgotten Realms via the movie? Maybe. I think Magic the Gathering, the Magic the Gathering, I think Martinson has some Magic the Gathering D&D combo cards. Didn't they have Morning Canaan as from the Forgotten Realm, which is silly because he's not, but it's not silly. It's their choice in the end, whatever. But Morning Canaan
it all together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Randy, right now a group on YouTube plans to play Dragonlance with Tiamat, not Nikisis, okay, using Savage Worlds Pathfinder. It's their table. Let them lie to themselves. I mean, or just let them play what they want. Who cares if you mix it up? And you can hate it, and I can hate it, but they can do whatever they want. They're not hurting my feelings.
I guess the other thing is the importance that it's putting on all this. We are in a very niche hobby.
Yeah, and they can all play autistic kinders. I don't care.
And as long as you're not disruptive to the table, almost everybody will let just almost anybody else play at their table. It's as if the hobby wasn't already accepting of other folk.
Fact.
And it's not, that's one of those gaming myths.
Well, it's the whole, look at this. Oh, hold on. Oh, okay, Ryan David. No, Randy, that's how we started this mess. We thought that they would stay in the corner being weird, and now they took over the asylum. Ryan's been on this kick about gatekeeping, really hard gatekeeping. I don't know what you would do against them, Ryan. And
All we can do is rail against it.
I don't disagree with you that gatekeeping is good. I'm not sure if we ever had did you ever really have a chance of stopping them? Could I stop someone from buying Dungeons and Dragons and playing it the way they want to? No.
And having YouTube channels where they're weirdos and then stopping the weirdos from being employed by Wizards of the Coast.
Right. I mean, I get what he's saying. It would be a beautiful thing if we could somehow get our hobby back to quote unquote the truth, but I don't know how that can happen. I agree. He's right. If we had the power, it'd be great to keep them out, but I don't know how we ever could. Or maybe he's just saying that would be ideal, and now the cat's out of the bag, and there's nothing we can do.
I'm not sure how any of us railing against this in our private lives or even on YouTube.
Yeah,
we would have had to have blockaded game stores or something. I don't know.
I think at my table I can gatekeep the crap out of them.
Sure. That's it. We can only gatekeep our own table.
Yeah, and I think they will, Ryan. He says he agrees it's far too late. They'll have to burn out on their own at this point. Yeah, at some point it's going to end.
It will, because they don't reproduce.
Yeah. And Legion says, shame and shun them back into their troglodyte caves. We can't stop them from playing. We can keep them from tables. We can keep them from our tables. We don't have to let them in there. No one gets, I can say you're not going to play some, I don't know, non-binary, half tiefling, half gnome.
That's going to happen naturally, though. Most of
one-legged weirdo
game with us anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know that not letting them play at our tables helps us stay sane. Yeah, but doesn't keep them out of the hobby at large.
Yeah, and I think if you're concerned about the hobby at large, I think it can give the hobby a bad name. I think it does. I think gamers are getting. I would imagine a lot of folks when they see them now, if they see those type of gamers, they got to be thinking these are some weirdos, dude.
Mm-hmm. I mean, geeks were already thought to be weird.
I say, to be fair, yep, we were already considered weirdos. So,
all right, so we don't want to beat this dead horse into the ground too much.
No, we've hollered this a little bit in the past.
Yeah, it's really stupid.
It is stupid. Yeah,
people with mental issues shouldn't be ridiculed for having a mental issue. They should seek help, and we support that. Go get help. But don't wear it on your sleeve as a badge of honor. That's odd.
Hey, before we go on, I noticed Jack the 71st is on. Jack, did you review my adventure on Big Geek Emporium? Is that you? Because if you did, thanks for doing that. I think it might be, because I think I got directed to your blog. So the fewer people in the hobby, says Legion, the better. Maybe now. Maybe that's true.
Well, I've always said that folks will say a rising tide floats all boats, but sometimes the water isn't deeper. It's just a bigger pond, and everybody's still stuck.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have now. We have a bigger pond, but it's not deep. There's no depth. It's just a bunch of folk. And it doesn't necessarily mean the hobby's necessarily better because there's more people doing it. In fact, anything that has niche appeal suffers from general acceptance, because the way you get from niche appeal to general acceptance is a a dilution of what made that thing special in the first place.
Right on.
Yeah, quality over quantity.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we got our own tables. Big Geek Con, we'll do a little bit of that. Some bozos show up and try to play in my game like that. They'll be getting a quick death certificate. Congratulations.
We're like kryptonite to any of those folks. They're not going to.
No. This one, they'll watch me for 2 minutes and they'll be like, "I'm not playing at that guy's table." So It's all good. Probably everybody there is going to be the same way, so there'll be no space for them.
Yeah. And the only other thing I would like to say is there's this weird obsession with these guys to claim a first.
What's that?
A first, right?
Oh, okay.
This is the first canonically autistic, blah, 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 blah. So they want to insert some irrelevant classification to do some irrelevant non-accomplishment. I mean, it's an imaginary character, so that imaginary character didn't accomplish anything.
So, I meant to tell you, and since Ryan David's here, I remember I've been listening to his podcast. He is in talks, very loose talks, with some other folks about having a con himself. I would like to see how this goes this year, and I think ours is going to be successful. And I would love to chat with Ryan David, see if we can somehow maybe have some connections. That would be cool if they do a con as well. So Ryan, if you're interested, I'd love to chat with you maybe after the con and see what you guys are thinking. We will give a full report. I expect to have. I'm going out on a check this week. Check the video, do some video recording, and I'll see how the Wi-Fi is. I was told it was fantastic, and so I'm jumping the gun. Sorry, but anyway, I think we should talk with Ryan David. Is what I wanted to say. I should have told you off air, but hopefully Ryan is interested in us kind of some cross. Contamination. I like contamination.
Pollination.
I like contamination better.
Fine.
Do it, man. Legion says too many cons up north. He's gonna make Babalamacon. That's actually a cool name. I might go just because of the name. That's cool. Do it, Legion, says Cal.
Your icon should be an IP distinct image that's just like Bam Bam from Flintstones. Bam Bam, Bam Bam Bam.
Cool. All right. Oh, hey, we didn't get to talk about it. Did you get any gaming in this week?
No, but I've been writing stuff about gaming.
Yeah, I have not done much of anything but preparing for this Big Geek Con.
Yep.
I was inspired last night for my kids' game, and I'm pretty excited about how it's going to go. I kind of wrote an outline super fast, but I think it'll be good. So,
good deal. Yeah, I was struggling trying to put a schedule up on Discord that was right in that thread, but it ultimately failed because Discord doesn't natively support tables, and there's a 2,000 character limit that kept me from being able to just put in what's called an ASCII table.
Gotcha.
Just, character, instead of it being like a Windows table, not Windows, Microsoft Office table or a Google Doc table. They don't let you just insert that.
Yeah, we'll share tonight the Big Geek Con schedule as it stands, but it's in flux. People are still adding and changing. I have 4 games that I'm scheduled to run, but that might change. I think the Horde Wars guys need to contact me to make some changes, but yeah.
So we have a link to a Google Doc.
Right. Yes, we'll show that later.
Which still doesn't. Sometimes when you put in a link, it will display contents of that link. But yeah, no.
Elle says take a picture of a table. Will do, bud. I plan to get pictures, and I plan to try to do some still pictures, try to do maybe some video stuff as well. So let's see. You want to tell them to do the things, Joe? Because we probably should get that up.
Yeah, we should do the things. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Hit the like button, the bell notification, so you'll know when we are coming out with our episode, which is always on Tuesday at 7:30. So do you really need to put that in your calendar? You should just know that intrinsically. Share us with your friends and your enemies, because we want everybody to watch.
Right.
They don't have to like us.
No, they just have to watch us.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right. Yeah, I guess I could have taken a picture of the ASCII text table or any table that I built, or Randy actually built the initial one, and then he sent it to me. Then I made some adjustments because I always do that when Randy sends me anything.
Yes, he's an adjuster.
I'm an adjuster. And I could have taken a screenshot and posted that, but I went ahead and went with the link.
Okay. Cool.
If people want to have a picture of it, maybe on Thursday evening, once the schedule is solidified, I can post a picture of the entire schedule so that people could, if they want, they could print it out, or they, if they wanted to. I don't know why they would want to do that when they can just use their pocket computers to just go there and look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew what you meant there, Mr. L.
I didn't. I was confused.
Or I am assuming your gender. L is a neutral tag.
Right.
Neither masculine nor feminine. Oh, in French, if you say L,
yep,
is it la or L?
Well, L is she, and la is the, but for feminine. What's funny that actually that's what gendering is. I'm gonna get off on a rant. It's actually just freaking language crap. So yeah.
Right. All right. So let's get on with this, and we are going to talk about Planescape, but not the way that you're going to think. Well, although you might, because it said Planescape Reimagined, so you probably will get it partially. Anyway, the idea is, I brought up a few things to Randy. We were talking about topics, and the general idea of reimagining old campaign worlds from TSR's heyday.
Right.
might be good fodder for you folks. So this is the first installment of that, which is Planescape, because it's Randy's favorite thing in the world at all. Period. Well, this isn't
Unreal Agent. Take care, bud.
Your dad's Planescape. This is new Planescape.
Yeah, we're gonna rewrite it, baby, right here on air. So first, let me say this though: the original Planescape was not a problem. It was a very good setting. It had the no, Sigil was fabulous. Joe just doesn't like dealing with moral relativism, and I get it, or even moral ambiguity, or whatever you want to call it. But I still liked it. But that was one of the biggest things. So we've kind of pulled that. That's the big thing that I think is coming out of our Planescape setting. We're going to pull that moral relativism right out. So go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
All right. So
harsh your buzz.
Speaking of Planescape, it is an extension of the Great Wheel cosmology.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it interesting, at least I thought it was an interesting image that was in our thumbnail for the episode.
Yeah.
It's all image, some older representations of the Great Wheel had a lot of labels where you could tell what was what, but I still thought it was an interesting take on it from a image point of view.
Okay.
Let me see if I can share
You're gonna
this.
show it to folks. Elle says three folks just bolted.
Probably.
That's all right. They don't have to like it. It's all good. Nobody's feelings hurt here.
This is where I need to go. It's not going to work. Nope.
What are you doing, man?
Right.
Trying to
well, because I'm on Linux and Linux and StreamYard don't go together very well.
Seems like an Apple computer may be better. Oh. Okay.
So.
That's interesting. So what have they done with the inner planes there?
It's very small. And let me see if I have it. Let me see if I have it as a standalone image that I can just. Yes, I do. There we go. Where is the zoom?
Okay, Green Apple. You can ignore some of Elle's previous comments. It's not a place for furries. I'm going to give a lowdown of the original Planescape, Joe, while you play around with that.
Go ahead.
Planescape was originally a way to give player characters access to the planes and not get utterly destroyed. Because everybody a lot of times would imagine that the planes required high-level spells and all kinds of crazy stuff to be able to just survive. They created what was called the Sigil, the City of Doors, which is a city between the worlds. And this is not the current 5e. This is 2nd edition. And the leader, or the de facto leader of that city, was the Lady of Pain. It was also called the City of Doors because there was portals to all worlds from that city. Now, the Lady of Pain controlled that. So deities, and many of them were powerful avatars and minions, could not access Sigil. She literally kept them from being able to come through the portals. They kept her enigmatic. As far as I know, she was never statted out as being what was her, hit points and stuff like that. But they allowed for transition, so players to go from a prime material world to out in the plains, a place that was quote unquote safer. And without going into too great detail, there were factions within the city, I think 12 or 13 of them, that were vying for some amount of political control. And they all had various political, or what's what I'm looking for, philosophical ideas. They called them philosophers with clubs. Translation, they weren't all like just lawful good. There was a faction of, not the Dustmen, but, why am I blanking? The faction that was all about decay and
Dustmen?
No, the Dustmen, they thought the ultimate death was, becoming undead, but oh man, not the chaos attacks. Why am I blanking? It doesn't matter. So there was a faction that had a belief in entropy, and so that's more than just chaos, but they would accept all manner of people that wanted to see basically the planes burn. You were allowed to then access from Sigil perhaps other planes. And I thought one of the most interesting things about the setting was in the very first box set, the first adventure, you had to travel to and you were like first to third level characters, and you traveled to the second layer of the Nine Hells. You had to deliver something, or no, you ended up getting there by sheer accident, but you had a pass, a writ from Dispater himself. How you got that, no one really knew how it came about. But anyway, the point was you could do some things. They made the planes playable. You didn't have to be 17th level party, with 2,000 prepared spells so that you could be immune to all the things and go out in the planes and fight all the stuff. They made the planes kind of a living place. Now, some folks didn't like the detail that they gave. They did have a lot of moral relativism in the planes. So, you might have there's a group called the Harmonium. They were about order, but you could be lawful good, lawful evil, or lawful neutral. A lot of different people in that faction didn't have to be the same alignment, though I think the lawful neutrals tended to move up the ladder more. If you liked a lot of politics and philosophy in your game, a lot of philosophy, it was really fun. If you just wanted to travel the planes and have a plane hopping campaign, it had a good place to have a base. Now, different Legions, that's an opinion. Doomguard, thank you, Martinson. Planes should not be accessible to lower level characters. That's an opinion. It's one that I don't necessarily always agree with, but whatever. I think it's
you agreed with him back in the day.
I did.
Anytime we went to another plane,
right?
Early on.
Back when I was 14 and we played first edition D&D and regular D&D, because I couldn't conceive of anything else. So Planescape opened my mind to a lot of other ideas. I thought it was amazing because in second edition, I had all these box sets of all these worlds, Birthright, Forgotten Realms, Dark Sun, and I was able to use them all. I could imagine a campaign where I could dip into Athos and have people face off against cannibal halflings. Then I could dip into the Forgotten Realms and have them be in the middle of Mithranor. So I kind of like that. Tiefling PCs were good in Planescape. I thought they added a little bit of a twist, but they added the Azamar and lots of others. And it got crazy. I mean, the planes are a big place, right? So it opened up. I think someone mentioned the kitchen sink. I think it was L. Yeah, you could have all kinds of craziness going on, but you have to be into kind of a wild campaign. And at one point, I really was.
So I think where I would like to turn it on its ear is one, excise the cancer that is Sigil.
Completely.
Don't need it. So that's a DM issue.
Sure.
So the other thing is focus. So with Planescape, the focus is external, is getting out of the prime and going out into the planes. But with how I'm imagining this is backwards, the opposite of that.
Okay.
Where the people in the other planes have an interest in the prime because of resources and whatnot.
Sure.
Any number of ideas you can come up with. And they come to the prime, to maybe your homeworld, and invade, send a force of invaders to come take stuff. It might even be just, hey, it's a slave run. We're going, forces from the infernal side of things are coming to, grab a bunch of folks for slaves. Or maybe some treasure or mystic thing was uncovered that even someone in the upper or outer planes, or however you want to term it, is discovered. Someone out there gets wind of it, and they send some invaders there to capture it. So they come here, or the outer planes folk come to the prime for one reason or another.
Yeah.
So
there's resources here that aren't as abundant in the outer planes, and even if it's as simple for demons and devils, it could be human souls. But I would think you could have more than that. It could be an actual mineral or a material or some sort of stone or some sort of valuable thing that could cause them to come into the prime material plane.
Right. So that was my initial idea. So
Mm-hmm.
if I was going to say write this, I would of
Mm-hmm.
course make it completely indistinct, or as indistinct as I could from the TSR material. So of course I'm not going to have Sigil, not going to have the Lady of Pain,
Mm-hmm.
and I rename many of the planes. So you had some
my take was
points.
My take was a little different than yours because I was trying to format it with Sigil, but go ahead.
Right. So you wanted to have Sigil because that would be like where any kind of joint efforts would be reached there in Sigil, because all these folks could just go there and parlay with each other and not have to worry about getting jumped by the other side.
Well, I had a little more than that, man. The idea was I was going to keep all the trappings of the setting, even the Lady of Pain, but Sigil was going to be different, right? Sigil was still going to be the City of Doors. There was going to be some great council, and all the powerful entities of the planes still couldn't come in there, kept out by her. But there would be some great council, maybe a pit fiend that represented Asmodeus and the Nine Hells, maybe some sort of Secondus that represented Primus from the plane of Mechanus. That's a Modron lord. Maybe some powerful lich that represented maybe the demigod, or I think he may be a true god now. Vecna is roaming the negative material plane, and he has a representative that is a powerful lich that comes to Sigil, and they kind of bargain for the right to attack the prime material plane. Because my thought was it wouldn't be so easy for them to get in there. And by attack, I mean infiltrate. You could have an angel from Celestia, a Solar, who's a representative of some powerful, lawful good god. They also want to access the prime material plane for what's there. We'd have to decide some sort of drawing mechanism. And the Lady of Pain would be what keeps control on them, because she would be powerful enough that she would be hard to stop individually, but she would use the Dabus. Now, in the old Planescape setting, the Dabus were these weird, they spoke in rebuses. They didn't speak. You would see a rebus. That was the goofiest part that I thought Planescape had. So I would just change them to some sort of maybe construct, and she would have just hundreds and thousands of them below in the sewers or in what's called under Sigil, and they would be waiting in reserve, and they would be powerful force of soldiers that could keep control of the city should things get out of hand, should the demons decide, Orcus's representative decide, I'm invading the prime material plane and I don't need your okay, or I'm just going to start messing crap up, I'm going to take over here. And so that would give her a power base. To me, that would keep the feel of sort of the factions, but not as nearly as philosophical as just purely political. Right. And I would think from year to year or time frame to time frame, the lady would say, okay, Mechanus has made a good argument, so the Modrons can now access the prime material plane, and she would unlock the portals to access the prime material plane. Not that they could flood in there, but they would be given a certain amount of time, maybe 2 months, to gather resources, do what they got to do. Maybe if they could manage to get into that world, maybe they could turn the prime material plane with all its different alignments and try to make it more lawful. And the more lawful they make it, the more likely it might shift or slide into Mechanus and become part of that plane and have the resources to themselves.
So, right. That's certainly a one way to do it. And I can understand this is how anyone that wants more structure. And when I looked at a lot of the representations of the Great Wheel, that's what I saw. Everybody wanted to have this. And it was born in the original visual representation of the Great Wheel, or the cosmology of D&D. Mm-hmm. It was very highly structured. Big box with all the planes around and prime material in the middle. And my take is more on the conceptual side.
Okay.
So instead of that cosmology being so rigid, you have the prime, which is in the middle of the astral. Mm-hmm. One of the things I never understood was why there was an astral and an ethereal. Yeah. It's odd because they're both kind of similar. So you pick. I'm just going to pick one and ditch the other one. You don't need both. So astral, then all the other realms or planes, whatever you want to call them, are just reachable through the astral in more of a conceptual way instead of a structural way. As in, the only other word I would use is maybe they're higher planes.
Mm-hmm.
And the prime is more central. And then that lack of structure to me also applies to this idea of invasions. Instead of having some boss in charge of all the invasions, you could have some alliances where they get together and say, hey, we're going to gang up on the prime material plane in this world in particular, and we're going to rape the crap out of it. And they're not going to know what hit them. Or perhaps the negative energy plane has a faction within it that want to go to this one world on the prime material and turn it into an undead world. So they'll invade that and try to accomplish that. But it's all individual.
What's the multiverse then? Is it not a bunch of planes, or is it a mishmash of just random?
It's a bunch of planes, but it's not. I'm just not looking at it being highly structured.
Oh, so there's no difference between an abyss or a hell or a mechanist?
Yes, there are. Okay. There are. So you have different. In my thinking, there are different realms, but it's not necessarily the visual representations that all these people come up with is highly structured, almost as if the physical layout they have in the drawing is actually how it is, kind of like a solar system, where there's the central sun and all the planets that have their orbits around it, very structured, and that's how it works. I'm just saying you don't need that. You have all these planes. You have what?
I'm smiling because you're very consistent, Joe. Yes. You don't want structure.
Well, I don't think it's necessary here.
No, it's never. You don't have to do it, and I'm not knocking you for it. I'm really not laughing at you. I'm laughing at this. How you are very consistent. You don't like structure. You want things really loose.
And so it's a lot easier to build within.
Well, but once you build it, then you have structure, right?
It's easier to do your own thing within a loose structure.
Sure,
so there is a structure, but it's very, very loose instead of very, very tight.
You can have structure without it being super tight, but yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Planescape had so much room that I think there was really no. I don't know how. I mean, you could play the Planescape. Well, we got to be careful. Planescape is the name of the setting they built to make the cosmology come alive in the D&D worlds. Planescape was not a world. It was not. It was how. It was literally all the worlds and how they. It was
a hyper definition of the planes that were already there. They redefined some terms and changed some things around, like Nirvana became Mechanist. I'm really not familiar with Nirvana as a concept in the real world, what it's supposed to be, but I think Mechanist was a complete new thing.
Well, Mechanist was originally Nirvana. They didn't do much with Nirvana.
Right, that's what I said.
Explaining it. So they decided, though I think the claim was it was lawful neutral, which if anybody knows about Eastern mythology, maybe that makes sense. But Nirvana just seemed like, I always thought of Nirvana as bliss. I didn't think it was a lawful neutral plane, even though I think they called it that in the Manual of the Planes. Legion is a big Manual of the Planes guy. So I don't know. I do believe that we have some comments here before we go too far along. Let me move back to the first few starred ones. Let's see if I can do this. Jack the 71st says, the planes weren't that accessible. Oh, he's talking about accessibility.
Right.
You needed keys and gates to. Right. So by that, I meant, though, Jack, what I was trying to say is they became accessible in the sense that you could actually do it and not get murdered. There were adventures to be had in the planes where you didn't have to be 40th level. That's what I was saying. But you're right. You had to have keys and gates and all that.
I don't think that was ever necessarily the case.
What do you mean was never the case?
That none of the planes were accommodating to humans from the prime material.
Probably not.
It's a perception
yes.
that it's that way,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the lower planes, in the infernal, like in the hells and the abyss. There you expect to not be able to survive, or the elemental plane, like fire and water and earth and all of that, maybe air.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the airplane? You just fall all the time.
Right. Well, because they didn't give you enough to really to me,
Right.
It didn't seem like enough to work on. And I know a lot of folks here are loving the Manual of the Planes, and I thought it was a solid product, but I wanted more. And one of the comments they made was for you, Joe, as Legion said he thinks that you wanted here it is, that Joe just wants the Manual of the Planes, which might be true, but he's trying to give it a little bit more and reimagine the Planescape setting, so trying to give it some meaning.
So
other people
instead of an external focus where the idea is that you go to the desire is to go out to the planes. Instead, a lot of the action comes to the prime. You could still have that because you might need to at some point go out to the first plane of hell and defeat the leader there that's sending the invasion force.
Right.
I mean, you might have to go all the way over there and defeat him on his home plane.
Yeah.
And that would be a high level.
Sure. You're not going to have 5th level characters do that.
No.
And I guess it all depends on what you want. And I'm really fine either way. My thought was, though, we would make it more about defending the prime. I thought we would be defending the prime more, and we could have all sorts of adventures where if the Modrons are coming to somehow, because they want to access the prime for whatever resource they think is valuable. And
they're not. So to me, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
The prime is an infinite plane with many worlds.
Right? Yes, true. Yes, according to lore.
So when the invasion comes, they're not invading the entire prime material plane necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be. That would be difficult, but I guess they could.
Yeah.
But the invasion usually, in my mind, comes to your home world.
Yes. When I say prime, right, we should be careful. Someone had mentioned that somewhere. I think Jack said here, Jack the 71st said, there are multiple Earths, prime worlds, on the prime material plane. There was a time I don't remember the whole design around the crystal spheres and all that gobbledygook, but I know the idea was the prime material plane encompassed Terrell of the Forgotten Realms. It encompassed Earth of Greyhawk. It encompassed, what's another world? Athos of the Dark Sun. I wonder, though, how many people, especially the ones that poop on Planescape, how many of them outside of Planescape and in their own campaign, how much world hopping did they do?
Probably not a lot.
That's right. So, I mean, to me, if they would say otherwise, that's fine.
Or plane hopping.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Plane hopping, going out to the Nine Hells, going out to the Abyss, or the Happy Hunting Grounds, which became the Beastlands. So, I mean, I think I could find that if you're not fond of that level of adventuring, it would probably be reasonable to think, oh yeah, I just don't want any kind of Planescape-y stuff, right? Let's see, a couple of other starred ones.
So yeah, a lot of people are talking about rifts, and this is kind of a rifty take on Planescape.
Yeah, this is definitely a rifty take. Elle said Planescape. No, it was not just rifts originally, but Joe's take is definitely more rifts.
More rifty.
And Jack the 71st said Greyhawk had an abundance of natural resources, so Greyhawk could be a perfect target. Here's one I have a question for Elle to clarify. It says, Randy, there are 3 worlds Planescape, Spelljammer, and Ravenloft can't touch. Oh, you're saying, I don't know what you're saying. Are you saying that you can't get there from the other places? First of all, Planescape's not a world, so I'm not sure what you mean. Planescape.
Oh, no. What he's saying is there are 3 worlds that Planescape you can't get to from the setup in Planescape, or Spelljammer, or Ravenloft. And I believe one of them is Athos from...
Oh, you saying there's no portal to those places?
Right. There's one of the, canonically speaking.
I'm trying to think. I'm going to say I'll take your word for that, but I'm not sure I believe that.
The Dragonlance world, which is Athos, right?
Athos is Dark Sun world.
Dark Sun.
Dragonlance was Dragonlance was shut off. That one I know of.
Yeah.
Ravenloft was not shut off. It was in Ravenloft was a demi-plane floating in the
Right. He's
ethereal
not
plane.
saying Ravenloft is shut off. He's saying that Ravenloft can't access, like through the mists or whatever.
Right.
There are 3 worlds that Ravenloft can't get to.
Sure.
Through the mists.
And I'm not sure if by canon you could access Ravenloft with a portal. I'm not sure you could. So I'm finally getting what he's saying. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough, El. Fair enough. And I do disagree with this as well. He says Planescape is just reinventing Immortals. No, it's better than Immortals by massive leaps and bounds. Immortals was horrible. Just my opinion.
Immortals?
Immortal.
It's a game called Immortals?
Immortal rules for D&D. It was crap.
Oh, yeah. It was a totally different game.
It was a crap attempt at high-level play. Personal opinion. Didn't like it.
And they already had lots of high-level play. They went to 36, and that was some pretty...
Oh, Mystara, too. I didn't know that. Okay. It said he claims he said later on, Mystara, Athos, and Krynn. Okay. And Ravenloft is hard to get to. Yeah, okay. That might be the case. Yeah. Krynn can be accessed by a Spelljammer. Well, Legion says Krynn can be accessed by a Spelljammer and Ravenloft. Therefore, it could be accessed by Planescape. Because
Krynn is where what happens? Well, that's not Dragonlance, is it?
Krynn is Dragonlance.
No. From what I understand, the crystal sphere is shut off.
Probably. I was going to say, if Planescape is not a setting.
It was at one point.
Yeah. If you use the Planescape rules, you can access any prime world except, I guess, the ones that I'll take their word for it. I know Krynn was blocked off. But the others,
gods there blocked.
I'm not sure about Athos, though. The Dark Sun world. Maybe. It's been too long. I can't recall. I'll take their word for it. So,
I believe that there was some explanation to the effect that the gods there voted and said no outsiders.
Yeah. And Jack makes a good point. He says Ravenloft will kidnap PCs when the demi-plane wants. Yeah, the Dark Lord, not the Dark Lords. What do they call the powers of Ravenloft? Yeah, but they did have an adventure. Oh gosh, where was it? I used to have a lot of the Ravenloft adventures, where there was a conjunction, and the Lords of Ravenloft were able to escape the demi-plane for a while. And so years ago, I ran an adventure called Ravenscape, where Strahd, there was a grand conjunction. Not only was he able to access the prime material world for a short bit, he can then access portals, and he got to Sigil. And that's where the dilemma came up, because once he got to Sigil, the powers cannot access Sigil because they're at least god level strength.
Oh, so
and the Lady of Pain has them completely blocked off. And so I had an adventure where the players had to eventually kind of make sure that Strahd ended up getting back to the demi-plane of dread. But that's taken, my own take on that idea.
Yeah. And that's the thing. All of these can't go here, can't go there is a rule that is begging to be broken.
It says Lord Soth was taken by Ravenloft. Correct. That's true. There's a good point.
Sure.
And the first Spelljammer novel goes to Krynn. I didn't read those, but I'll take your word for it.
I was not. I don't think that I looked at those seriously as good novels, especially because the Spelljammer stuff. The only thing I really liked were the elven ships, the living ships.
Oh, I love the Mind Flayer ships.
Right.
Those were cool.
So the ships themselves were cool.
Yeah, but the game
a lot of the other stuff.
Those hippo dudes, the GIF. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's so stupid."
There is a,
and that's saying something
for anthropomorphizing animals to an extreme.
Yeah.
So we could have giraffe PCs, giraffe people, hybrid PC peoples.
Yeah. Legion says the Krynn gods only limit the level of a character and psionics, at least up through 2E. Yeah, as we talked about at the start of the show, they changed stuff so much. And, I've replayed so many editions of D&D. It's hard for any of us to talk with great authority because who knows what's going on now.
The last comment.
Put it up there.
L says, Soth was taken by Hickman. I call shenanigans. It's all shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as D&D's canon is accessed by different creators throughout the years, there isn't really canon. for this game. There isn't. There you can't call anything canon because from the very beginning, any sort of fluff was changed. All of it's been changed.
And a lot of people just pick their time frame of D&D and say, "Oh, I like this, and so to me this is canon."
Mm-hmm.
But this does beg the question then. There's no reason for them not to have autistic paladins creating the deck of many things, other than it's stupid.
Claiming it's finally a canonical, mentally unstable person.
If there's no canon, you're right. That to me, canon's irrelevant for that. So that statement's nonsense. But on top of that, like we said before, we talked about, I'm just going to go down that road.
Yeah.
Do you think, so in your view, there is no City of Doors, there is no Lady of Pain, there is no factions. Portals still exist, but no one controls them. They just are what they are.
Well, there's always been multiple ways to get around the planes.
Okay. Sure.
And one of the key ways to get from an outer plane to the prime plane is by summoning. So I thought a cool way that the devils and the demons could stage an invasion is by tempting some hapless mortal into summoning a devil, and they just hijack that ritual completely and start an invasion right off of that. That's a way. That was just an idea I had. But
yeah, I guess for me that's a good. I mean, I'm not against your really loose setting. I think that's fine. I just feel like.
So for me, settings are great when things aren't overly defined, because what do people do? Even you, when you get settings, you put your own spin on it. You take it apart.
Yeah, I do.
And it's the same concept of when a DM makes an adventure or a campaign. You make what you need. I mean, you can do all the other stuff.
Sure.
But how much of it's going to get used? So it's more of a bullet point with some extras. So there would be some things fleshed out. There would be perhaps many factions, because each of these planes could have factions of their own. And then those factions could have relationships with each other across the planes. And you could still need a neutral territory. So you could have something like Sigil. I just don't like Sigil as it's presented, because it's just a den of corruption that should be nuked from orbit, just to be sure.
Okay. Let me comment. L's got one. He says, Randy, I think planar travel to Dark Sun, Dragonlance, and Mystara breaks the setting. Okay. You're just saying that's kind of their theme. Those are self-contained little worlds. Fair enough. I mean, that's cool.
Sure.
Because the technicality, we cannot really argue, because who knows what's going on now. But I get what you're saying, Joe. I think that's an interesting take. But I think one of the reasons, besides as a DM, that I like to read setting material, and I'm fine if they give us a lot, though I will admit, Forgotten Realms got a little insane. I mean, holy crap. Did they have a second edition? They had a supplementary.
There was always another Forgotten Realms.
I mean, they did like the Dale Lands. They even went back and did Netheril. So the before, which I thought was a really cool book, but I like reading that stuff. I have to admit, unlike other people, I can kind of wink at the 15th level or higher level wizards in every town, and say whatever. But I liked reading some of the stories. I mean, Greenwood's not my favorite author, but I did enjoy some of his prose in the Forgotten Realms novels. And I loved, Planescape. I think I've said this before. Planescape was one of the first settings that I just loved reading. And Deadlands was another one, the original Deadlands. And still I like it, but I loved it in the early days. Those are two settings that I liked owning just for the setting, and just for the material. Whether you used it or not, it's valuable for reading. Now, if you don't like reading it, then okay. If you want to just create all your own stuff, you do want a framework and a skeleton and let the rest of it go. Now, I will give there is some charm and some utility to something like, help me if I remember this correctly, was it in the map on White Plume Mountain where they had here there be an undead dragon, or there's some undead
Yeah,
dragon. Beware the undead dragon.
Yeah, it wasn't detailed. It was just on the map.
Correct. You're like, ooh, what is that? And
Sure.
that just hands the GM license to make it whatever he wants, right?
Right. So I'm more on the level of gazetteer.
Mhm.
So the
you want a
whole multiverse, I think, could be represented good enough as a gazetteer,
sure.
Not unlike the Mystara gazetteers.
And I would have loved a full hardback book on every level of the 9 hells. but to be fair, it's not what you think. It's not because I need them to design it for me. I just want to read about it. I don't know if folks here remember Greenwood had some articles. Was it Gygax in early Dragon magazines around the 60s and 70s where he was detailing the politics of the 9 hells.
Politics of hells. Yeah.
That's a great set of articles, and it adds a lot of flavor. And you could see how the devils could be, the machinations and the politics going on there are pretty fascinating. No, you don't, Legion. Quit lying. He says, once again, I prefer Joe's take on game settings and game info, but I prefer Randy's style of gaming. You prefer my take too.
I'm more of a gamey gamer. Randy's more of a RP gamer. So that's why that is.
Hey, look,
Legion is more of an RP gamer.
I like some narrative. I do. And I'm good with some freedom, but I mean, I get frustrated with stuff too. I mean, it can be over the top sometimes. I understand where he's coming from and where Elle's coming from. It's not for everybody.
Right. So if I was to design this from the ground up, I would have factions, and maybe I would ultimately have like I just said a few minutes ago. Yeah, that was a good article.
Yeah, Dragon 75. Thanks, Jack.
There would have to be some neutral territory if these various people were trying to make alliances and coordinate things, because you're not necessarily going to go to your enemy or someone who has questionable morals.
Mm-hmm.
You're not necessarily going to go to their hometown.
Yeah, I guess for me, the things that, I guess when I took this assignment that we both ran off on, and it was kind of cool, we took different paths. Mine was to reimagine the setting without losing a lot of the key elements. I mean, and that idea, it's almost like reimagining a different Earth 42 in Marvel Universe, where but more than just the file numbers being filed off, right?
Right. So for me, and it's what I put on in our description, was to turn it on its ear. So
yeah, you turned it completely upside down, where I was like, how can I rearrange the purpose, take out all that, as I said, moral relativism, because the lady is not about politics. The factions aren't about politics. They're trying to, they're the people that are trying to get in the good graces of those big leaders of the council. Go ahead.
So Jack is saying that the weird thing is that the Politics of Hell article we were talking about was written by Ed Greenwood. Could be. I'm sure. I don't know. It's been 30 years since I read it, I think.
Right.
Or even looked at it. So you mentioned a thing here called Kreigstanz.
Oh, that might be deeper than what we planned. The Kreigstanz was, in the original Planescape, was what they called the political dance that all the factions played at the meetings. And my thought is that would still exist, but it would be that council of powerful entities that the lady is listening to their pleas and their arguments to have access to the prime material plane. Because to me, in this setting, the lady would keep all the crazy creatures from all the worlds coming in en masse and attacking the prime material plane and just obliterating it. And so what they have to do is they have to have access from time to time from her. So the Kreigstanz would be still the political dance that the Solars and the Pit Fiends and the Baylors and the Seconduses, the Modrons and the Slod Lords, that would be arguing, trying to gain access from time to time. And it would ebb and flow depending on the time, whether or not they had the right, it's our turn now to have the right to try to manipulate the prime material plane, choose your favorite one. So I think it would be even better if you have multiple prime worlds like, Greyhawk, Toril, Athos, because then that would thin out. It wouldn't be able to the whole might of the abyss would be focused just on Greyhawk.
Right. The other thing is that the way you present this here, it's almost like the Lady of Pain is the boss of the multiverse.
She's the access to the prime world.
Well, she's still able to say yes, no, you can't.
Right.
And if you overstep your bounds, I'm going to send in my dogs, and they're going to pound you into the dust.
Uh-huh. Well,
so
she is
kind of
for that. Yeah.
Boss of the multiverse.
Mm-hmm. You could even run that campaign. We could really turn Planescape on its ear and take the gods out of the whole equation.
Or you could relegate them, like a lot of people do, from actual gods into just really powerful beings who have achieved immortality, which some folks would say, what's the difference? Well,
or you could think of the Lady of Pain as an over god, like Ao in the Forgotten Realms. She's above the gods. Yeah, that's fair. That's a good interpretation. Yeah. Martinson's got it. She is the gatekeeper, right? But who is the key master? Right.
And the other interesting thing would be, or maybe a wrinkle, would be how the upper planes, the supposedly good guys, why would they go around invading a prime world?
Again, there might be this, though. So imagine that the people out in the plains, right? Angels, they all have a certain, they're stuck in an alignment. Let's just, for argument's sake, let's say all angels are lawful good.
Okay.
So they're by nature lawful good. They're stuck in that alignment. They peek into the prime material plane and they go, man, there's lawful good folks. There's chaotic evil people. There's people doing this. There's neutral folks. There's some that don't give a crap. Some people that are highly, there's clerics that are fighting for the right to party. And they're like, man, this place is utterly insane. We need to bring order to this place and peace for the good people of the prime. So their goal is to bring peace. And when they quote unquote get their turn, it may not be very violent. In fact, it's probably not. They're trying to come in and, hey, look, let me help you out. I'm a big time planetar angel. Let me give you with some powers. Why don't we do this and try to tamp down on this chaos over here? So it could be a type of invasion that's not like the others, right? And I've always liked how where were the Githyanki from originally? Was it Limbo, or was that the Githzerai?
I thought that they were from
originally from the astral. That's
being.
it. Because they were originally in another world, and Gith was their queen. But anyway,
they roamed the astral.
They talk about them, and there was a whole Dungeon magazine adventure about connected to the Githyanki invasion of a prime world, and they would be interesting. And they're a lot more violent. So, yeah.
So, how would you approach this if you wanted to divorce alignment from this? So you have you have heavenly planes, you have infernal planes, and then you have, so the way it's laid out in most of these representations is lawful good is at the top where all the heavenly planes are at, or not necessarily lawful good, but good. And then evil is down where the infernal planes are at, hell, the abyss, and such. And then on the left and the right, the left side is where the order is at. That's why Mechanist is over there, because they're super orderly.
Yes.
And then on the other side is where the chaos is at, like Pandemonium.
Sure.
On that side. So if you were going to, because many people don't want to have alignments in their game world.
Sure.
So if you took alignment out of the picture, could you reimagine this structure from a non-aligned, as far as good, evil, law, chaos, and make it more order? So to divorce it from the conception of ethical, moral alignments.
Okay.
And still have a heavenly thing.
Okay.
And have an infernal thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the forces of darkness. Maybe we're just quibbling on terms.
Semantics, yeah.
Maybe just semantics. But could you have, say, the infernal realm could have factions of people who are just unaligned morally, or maybe they're morally ambiguous.
Sure.
So you could have a bunch of devils or demons or whatever they are,
Mm-hmm.
but they're more like we just said the name of the race. They're more like half devils.
Tieflings?
They're more like a tiefling.
Ah.
Right? So they're not full on Satan, more just humanoids with some devilish blood in them.
Right.
And, and they're morally unaligned. And instead of having their alignment be to good or evil, law, chaos, it's more to a faction.
Mm-hmm. That would be leaning back toward the factions of Sigil. It would be a philosophy in some sense rather than a true moral code.
And it may not even be a philosophy. They're aligned with.
Just because so we're the tiefling troop, so that's how we're aligned. We do whatever the tiefling leaders say.
Bob's tiefling family.
Gotcha.
Or faction. He's been around for thousands of years. He has all of this, all these people, followers, hangers on, family, all of this stuff, and that's his faction. Now, he might be a rotten dude, or not. Might just do whatever he wants to, and not necessarily have a compunction one way or the other. And you may just have a bunch of morally ambiguous from the point of they're not the embodiment of evil.
Right. They're individuals like everybody else.
Right.
But they're all on the same team.
So if you take out the idea that people on the planes that they're not, those planes don't embody an alignment.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason it could just be an invading force.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be very simplified then. So you could just have these tiefling dudes, they tend to do evil stuff, but you know what? These Aasimar guys, which are kind of angelic, they tend to do good stuff, but they sure tore that one town down up into pieces. So that would make it more morally ambiguous and more difficult to say who's good. It would be easier. There you go, Joe. It would be easier for you as a DM to just say, at the moment, I want the Aasimar guys to be doing some nasty crap that the players don't like, just because they're part of what they would think would be. They call themselves, we're the Angel Squad. Yeah, but you're like angels, like Supernatural, the TV show. Some of those were a-holes.
So you could have this faction from hell, so on, quote unquote, and they are bad guys. They have slaves. They torture people. They create poisons and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And use them in battle. Well, whether you use poisons or not may or not be evil, but according to D&D, it is. So there you are. But they're still not. They're defined by their actions, not that they are the embodiment of evil because they happen to come from a place.
So you're just taking away. So yes, you could strip the planes of their. You could say, well, then there is no such thing as the nine hells, if you want to call it that. Is just another world. It's not all lawful evil. It's not all even evil. It's just a place where these guys come from. Maybe it looks hellish and that it has rivers of lava, but that's how their world works. Maybe it's because of what they've done, it looks that way. And that's why they need the resources to fix it.
Could be.
Right. And they're just people from another world, almost science fiction like, where they're just from another planet and they've come to take over, quote unquote, Earth because, you could do that easily. I think you could. And it would simplify all the discussion of philosophy. It's just this army's after that army and it has a planar scale to it rather than.
Now, I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying if you took alignment out of the equation and said that all these places, they may have tendencies toward being this way, and perhaps even the majority of folk who live on the first plane of hell, they're pretty evil, rotten. They eat people. They eat babies for breakfast.
Sure.
And have a million slaves. Right. So they're bad people, but it's not necessarily intrinsic. Would there be any? D&D likes to have those things be intrinsic. But is that necessarily a good or bad thing? How would it change how we do this? Would it, or are we still kind of being semantic here? Because they're still bad guys, but not necessarily intrinsically so.
It would be more like a planar form of like, well, I don't know. Was the Mongol horde bad? Probably.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure you can get away from that, right? I mean, depending on how they act. I mean, you could say they're a world that has. I mean, I think you. I don't know how you just have them be like. Are you want them to be a nothing burger like just some other country?
I don't know. I'm just thinking outside. I'm trying to think outside the
sure.
box. We're reimagining, right?
Right,
so
right.
This is one thing. One thing that the planes have always been is really tied heavily to an alignment.
Right. So divorce that.
And how does that? If we did that, how would that change how all this works? It would change it fundamentally.
Sure.
But would you still? You would. It would just be a bunch, like you said. It would just be a bunch of other worlds.
Correct. Worlds will be fighting, which you can do that. War of the worlds, a real war of the worlds, a war of the planes, right? Yeah, sure. Why not? You could. I'm not sure if it'd be good, bad, or ugly. Yeah. Let's see. Darth had a comment or two. It was pretty good. He said he was responding. He said, "I would keep Randy's council idea and get rid of the Lady of Pain and have a construct police force that answers only to the council." Okay. He's kind of redesigning from this one.
Right.
And hold on for a second. Turn that off. And then he goes, I asked him, I said, would they have only power in Sigil? He says, yes, the council and constructs would only have power or work in Sigil. All right. And then he brings up, I would even make up a new race that created it and grants the powers to the council and restricts movement outside of Sigil and makes Sigil a giant city on a planet like Promethean's phase world. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. You could do that. That would definitely make that a different take. For sure. I just wonder. Yeah, that's
another one down here.
Mm-hmm.
The council can even be given magic rings that give them dominion over Sigil. Ha ha ha. You need to L. Yeah.
Yeah, Ella talked about it's all the Green Lantern Corps now and the Watchers. Yeah, sure. That's not a problem. All right. Yeah, I think that's kind of all I got. That's what I would do. You got anything else on this idea of reimagining?
I think we touched on all the points I had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right, man.
All right. So
Planescape Reimagined.
Planescape.
Choose Joe's more of loosey-goosey or Randy's reimagining of Lady of Pain. That's two options, good, bad, or ugly. There they are.
Right, because you could have the council with or without.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Clearly, Darth is an option too. That's good.
All righty then. So we should do some things.
Yes.
Like subscribe.
Yes, sir.
And like.
Yes, do both because that's cool.
Do
we
both.
need them. We need them.
Like and subscribe, share. You're on YouTube. If you're listening on audio, follow us in your podcatcher. Leave us a review. Mm-hmm. Put down some comments. Come in here and tell us we're crazy for talking about Planescape at all.
Well, it's kind of timely because 5th edition just made their Planescape revamp. I haven't looked at it. I don't know if anybody knows what it's like. I imagine it's.
Is it a released book or is it on their online daily, Bob?
I think it's a released book. Can anybody confirm that Planescape is a released book? I believe Ryan David has said it was released a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Can just imagine. And I get it. I know some people might hear this and say, well, last year, the year before, there was some push to not have alignments be strict on monsters, so that all monsters can have the breadth of experience that humans do, and
right.
Although, like a demon, you could have good demons and bad demons. Maybe have just general tendencies.
You could do that. Dumb, but you could do
I
it.
was just spitball.
Right. Exactly.
Plus, what I'm talking about wouldn't be D&D. Greyhawk 5e is coming? Well, obviously.
Well, of course, we're going to reimagine it.
Wouldn't it?
Reimagining Greyhawk is on the horizon, though I'm not sure I really could. I don't know Greyhawk that well, and it's that and Forgotten Realms both are a little kind of standard worldish. I'd be more inclined to try to reimagine Dark Sun or Birthright, just because they have a real shtick, if you will. I mean, not that Greyhawk is not as bad or Forgotten Realms is bad. They're just more like, I'll call them, and I don't mean to offend anybody, generic fantasy world.
Yeah, I would differentiate Greyhawk.
Yeah.
A bit because it had much less gaming material released.
Yes.
And
But it would have, had it been, do you think they would have sorry, had they kept Greyhawk instead of Forgotten Realms in second edition, I think they would have released a bunch of crap.
I'm not even sure how you would go about to reimagine those places. Planescape has a lot of
flavor that can be retooled. Exactly. Yeah.
Greyhawk doesn't. It's very ill-defined.
I mean, it would just be a different, I don't know.
Light on definitions.
I mean, we could dive into some of the lore that I got from, Legion says, I don't know if I would call Forgotten Realms clown shoes, but.
That's what I would call Spelljammer. That's when you could definitely reimagine in a positive way. Absolutely.
Maybe even Ravenloft, though I really like it the way it is, but we could possibly reimagine Ravenloft.
I think Ravenloft as a
palette cleanser is good.
Yeah.
I think Ravenloft has I think it's nice because you can have a group of characters get captured by the mist, experience Ravenloft, spit back out home, and never have to go back again. They can have their domain of dread experience and call it good. But yeah, we could try to reimagine. I don't know if I'm inclined to reimagine other settings. I have a couple in mind. Dark Sun and is one that I'd want to think about, but right now I have nothing else. So
what do you think you would want to tackle on Dark Sun? Would it be the psionic part?
Probably that. Probably some of the takes on the Dragon Kings, and
the Dragon Kings are psionic dragon.
Correct.
Sorry, dragon wizards.
They're not called not the Dragon Kings, the Sorcerer Kings that are the rulers of all the city states. But I mean, like I said, I don't know. Planescape was just something that, I was kind of bubbling with ideas anyway. I've always been a fan of the planes, so that's why it came up. I don't know. This might be a regular topic periodically, but probably not very much. But whether 5e makes Greyhawk or not makes no difference to me. And I didn't do this because 5e made Planescape. So
no, it just came up in conversation.
Yeah, it did.
But I think that if we were to explore reimagining any other setting, I think it would be Spelljammer. Spelljammer would be, I think, the easiest one from my point of view. I mean, I don't have a lot of Spelljammer material to look at.
I don't have any more at all. I don't think
I have any either.
I bought the box set when it first came out, and we thought it was going to be cool. We started looking at it and said, this is kind of dumb.
But we can jettison all of the crystal sphere phlogiston nonsense.
Right. Well, let's talk about it off air. We'll definitely consider it. Spelljammer is on the list. So
yeah, because there's a lot of cool stuff in there, especially the living ships. I like those a lot.
Yeah, it was just a fun topic that I thought it'd be neat to think about. Plus, I know I got a lot of people that don't like Planescape, so I wanted to make sure I talked about it.
Yeah.
Just to needle them just a little bit. I love you guys.
A tiny bit. All right, so let's move on to our final thing here. We're going to squish some gaming myths.
Well, one of them.
And that one is D&D is not a good tabletop role-playing game.
I have heard that from lots of people, mainly early on. I remember so Joe and I, we started in middle school, and we pretty much, you tried to get us to dabble in Traveler, dabble in Warhammer. I tried Marvel superheroes, but we were really pretty much D&D dudes. Right. And when I went off to college and Joe went off to the military, I heard a lot of, I think I told this story. I go into, it's my first week before classes start. I go into college at IU and I see, there's a role-playing game club. a gaming club. I'm like, oh, that's cool, a gaming club. I'd never heard of such a beast. And so I head down to the what do they call it? In a college, they have like a little bowling alley, whatever, a place where kids can hang out. And I go check it out, and I get in there, and they're playing Talisman. They have all the old expansions, even the space stuff. And I say, and they're telling, and I'm watching them. I go, do you guys play Dungeons and Dragons? And they're like, D&D. We play Fantasy Hero. And I mean, just like that, just totally arrogant. Like D&D is poop. And I was just like, oh, okay. So I watched for like 2 more seconds, said, the hell with these guys, and walked off. Yeah, I think I heard that. And I had a kid one time try to tell me that D&D was just for munchkins and fighting monsters and getting more powerful. And while it can do that, and he sings the praises of vampire where you're automatically powerful. And
yeah.
That's funny to me.
Powerful than every other normal person on the planet.
Right.
Of course, there are much more powerful vampires than you are when you start out, but it's still a power fantasy on some level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. I think, what did Legion say here? He said, D&D can be a good RPG.
Can be a good
RPG, and is certainly a great game for its time. However, I do believe there are better games now.
Better at what? What do you mean by good?
Yeah, I don't know if I can agree with that. There are other games that I like, but D&D it still has to be my favorite. And when I say D&D, I'll give you this much. I can't say which version of D&D is my favorite right now. I really can't. But, yeah. I think a lot of people would say levels are dumb. I've heard that levels are stupid, but it is a game, and you got to have some way to track the increase of your character. But some would say there's no point in having a character that increases. Just let him be who he is and follow his adventures. Why is he, quote unquote, getting that much better? A lot of story gamers would argue that.
Sure.
But trying to say it's good or bad, that's to me. It's hard. It's hard to argue that. I think D&D is the granddaddy, of course, and I think it has to be given its props for that. And it's functional. It does the things you want it to do. You can roll dice. You can attack creatures. You can cast spells. You can make some cool moments. You can do some RP. You can not have RP. Pick 3rd edition. You can have a very tactical game. So
yeah, my big hang up with anybody who
Arnman, thank you. The Union. I couldn't think of that. That's what it was called.
Right.
Dang it. That's the place where they gather. Man, old man for sure.
Right. So when someone says it's not a good game, I'm really wanting someone to tell me, what do you mean?
Right.
What about, especially if they're trying to say that in a general sense, in a universal sense. And I'm going to say you can't really do that, because you have to define what you mean.
Yeah.
And when you use a word like good, this is good, it is subjective. It's depending on your own taste. So you obviously it's not good. You don't like it. That doesn't mean it's not a good game. That just means you don't like it.
Yeah. Darth says, any good adventure causes one to evolve, grow, hence the idea of gaining levels. I agree with you, but I'm saying you can make an argument that, your character does what they, how much does Spider-Man grow in his powers? I mean, the years I read Spider-Man, he didn't grow much. He could do what he could do.
Right.
Personally, he grew up.
There are some examples in comic books where characters' powers develop. A lot of them change over time. Superman got more powerful. He's gained a lot of powers since he was first introduced. When he was first introduced, he couldn't even fly.
Right.
He didn't have heat vision. I don't think he started out with heat vision or cold inducing, freezing breath. He didn't have that. So there are some examples, but by and large, they are what they are. But the hobby, almost all the tabletop games out there that I have experience with, they all have a function where you get more powerful. There's obviously some where that advancement is less dramatic. It might, instead of you maybe not getting more powerful, you might acquire a more breadth of powers, but not necessarily getting going up in power. And I'm sure there's some games where you don't gain anything at all. But I don't know.
Now, I don't know if I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, when someone says D&D is not a good game, I'm going to just get into an argument because they know what they're talking about.
Shauner, this is according to L. Shauner claims that it's not even a good game since it misses several points.
No. It's not a game. Not a good game. It's not a game.
Even a game, it misses several points. Like, okay, so you have to have a winner to have a game. All right, fine, whatever.
Don't care.
Yeah. I think, what was it? What did the Green Apple said here I thought was interesting? He said, I've only played 5e with other people. It's still fun regardless of it having a lot of player options. Yeah, I mean, dude, look, I don't hate 5e. I really don't. I hate the company that makes it. I really dislike 4e, but that's a decent role-playing game in terms of it's a decent game. It's fairly well balanced, but it's not fun to me, but to each their own.
Right.
Green Apple asked this, how would a non-advancing character, you just stay in level 1 areas every game, or do you start out max level? Well, it could be something like I wish Ryan David was here, but in Fate, if you're playing the Dresden game, which Joe and I played once. If you play Harry Dresden, I mean, he gets better for sure, but you could play him at a certain level where he's just there and does different adventures. It could be about just telling a story with that character. It may not be about telling one aspect of his life, not watching him grow and become better. A lot of people think you have to level and improve to have a fun game. I don't think you do, but I do think if you're going to try to keep playing that character over and over, all the players I've ever played with, if they don't get some level advancement, it's going to grow dull. I mean, you could do a very short campaign, like a 6-session campaign, which seems to be the going rate, they say, for a lot of 5e games. What does it matter if you level or not?
Yeah, calling something not a game based on your own terms.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's where it's just, I don't think it's a game because, in my opinion, it's not a game because of these reasons.
Look, I think anybody that doesn't admit that Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson created a new type of game, I think they're purposely being argumentative, because you can't argue that.
Right.
Role-playing games were inarguably created, and you can go back and make arguments about Brownstein or whatever. I'm not going to do that, about who actually did it first. I'm just going to assume it was a Gygax and Arneson, and they created a new type of game because winning wasn't the name of the game.
Right.
Arnman says Oxford Dictionary game, a complete episode or period of play ending in a definite result. Yeah, that role-playing games fit that. You get definite results.
Sure, you get experience points.
Yeah, or you play my game, you get TPKs, or if you do live, you don't get any
dead.
You get no magic items.
Right.
I love it in your 40th level.
Now, what that might mean to him is that there is not an in-game defined result that says it's the end of the game.
Yeah.
Or this defined thing happened. I don't know. It's no big deal.
I don't care. If that's what he wants to say, that's fine. But it is a game. I mean, it's a new category of game. Just like I would also argue that Magic the Gathering created a new category of game, collectible card game, though it's connected to card games.
Right.
Whatever. And defining what a good role-playing game is super subjective.
Right.
I mean, some people think, I know Legion likes, what is that game he likes? Forbidden Lands and the Year Zero engine. Some people think that's dog poop. So, right. I mean, to each their own. I think it's fine. I enjoy it. I'll enjoy it in Aliens. So, yeah, this is fully a myth. This is just someone's opinion. I don't like D&D, so it's bad. I don't like 4E, so it's bad. There's people that still play 4E. Who am I to say it's bad?
There are a lot of people that think 4E is the best version. There's a lot of people that think that 4E is the best version. So,
Arnman, tic-tac-toe almost never ends with the winner or loser.
Yeah, it's almost always a tie.
Correct. It shouldn't be. If you play it right, it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Some other points that you brought up here related is that when people make these arguments, they'll say stuff like, it's just the most popular.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it's good when everybody plays it, but it's certainly correlated.
Yeah, well, I would say this much, that I would used to be more vehement about this, but it's still just an opinion. The NFL is the most watched sport in the United States. Number one, right. By a wide margin. No one's really close. Is it the best sport? I would say currently, yeah, probably. For me, for my money, it is.
Right.
Now, whether it has the best athletes, whatever, I don't care which criteria are. But for my money, I would not, if I'm going to watch a sport, the NFL would be first, or college football. Football would be first, American football. Everything else, whatever's next doesn't matter. It's so far away out of my mind, it doesn't matter. Right. But some people would disagree, but it's still an opinion. People could think football is the biggest dog crap of a sport ever. It's too slow. There's too many breaks. And like a friend of mine who loves soccer says, soccer's nonstop action. I'm like, yeah, but the action's boring. So,
right. The folks will also say it doesn't represent Magic well.
Yep, because of memorization and fancy and spell casting. Oh, that's not how it works in books and movies. And like, well, okay,
those are books and movies.
Yep,
this is the game, and you have to, and this is how this game does it.
Yep,
the game is not supposed to emulate or simulate a novel or a movie. I mean, you may want it to,
right?
But D&D doesn't do that.
I don't think role-playing games do that very well.
Well, I think a lot of role-playing games want to.
They want to, and that's okay if you want to try
Especially
to build
ones that say that they have cinematic action. If they claim that, it's pretty much them saying, in our opinion, the designers think that this makes this a situation where the game emulates like a movie or perhaps a novel.
Or intense player agency.
Right.
Where players can control everything or control a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, look, if that's what you want at your table, I mean, could I have fun? Like, I don't like Fate. Everybody knows I'm not a fan of Fate. But I would be a guy that could play the game because I've looked at Fate a little bit and I've read the books, and I think you need to curate your table carefully. Everybody sitting at the table needs to want to tell a story. It's a storytelling game. It's not a classic RPG. Your agency will be there, but we have to follow a loose script. And by that, I mean, if your guy's purpose is to get captured in this scene, because that would be the coolest story, it's kind of got to happen. Now, that's not necessarily a role. That's not really much freedom, and I don't necessarily like that in general, but I could play a session of Fate and be down with that if we all agree. Not a lot of players could.
Right. So I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, because they want to have a lot of safety nets so that they can keep their character alive. Because, in storybooks, the main character never dies. So why are all these characters dying all over the place? That doesn't make any sense. That's not a good story. Whatever.
Our man wants to include some of the clones. Absolutely, brother. I mean, the clones
right.
too. Yeah,
they're all
talking the D&D variants, OSE,
yeah.
Hyperborea. What else do we go? Yeah, sometimes Lamentations, whatever floats your boat.
Right.
And, but yeah, I don't know if L is joking there. He says, I don't get cinematic action. There is no video in D&D.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if you're being funny or not. I kind of get what you're saying. I think but I'll pretend like you're serious. I think what they mean is the action in the game when you're fighting tends to emulate what you see in a cool action movie in D&D. Your character gets to do cool John Wick things.
Right.
Without having to get, you don't have to roll 20 every time to succeed. So, yeah, and usually that means that your rolling means little to nothing.
When we're playing D&D, I'm always imagining the action that's going on. And in my head, it's cinematic to whatever degree.
And that's good enough for us.
Yeah. Levels are dumb.
Yeah.
And skill. Yeah. It's just an adventure game. No role-playing support. All you need to have for role-playing support is the ability to open your dang mouth.
Right on, dude. And a little bit of an imagination.
Yeah.
And you can play a role.
Yeah. There's no need for the rules to tell you when to role play. Doesn't work past a particular level. That's a big ongoing argument since day one, probably.
And people will argue. I'll say this, that if you try to run, especially in 3rd edition, if you try to run 3rd edition past 10th or 11th level, just using the book rules and not doing any modifying whatsoever, like to play 3.5, even the core books, and you don't do anything with the monsters, just play them as they are, you're probably going to run into some troubles. The balance will go out the window. The characters, because if your players are like mine and they can min-max like nobody's business, they'll quickly have characters that are just way too good for their level. Meaning compared to the monsters, if you follow the rules. But I still maintain in other games like 1st and 2nd edition, where it's more on the DM's shoulders to decide what the good challenges are. If you take that mentality into every edition of D&D, except 4th, I can't talk about, you can definitely create challenges for your characters. And I think that's at any level. You can play high-level D&D. Absolutely.
Right. It's too complicated.
I've done it.
Yeah, too complicated. That's kind of the same point as just the previous one, but in general, it's too complicated. Anybody who says that, I'm just going to say you probably need some more schooling.
Yeah,
because we were playing it. Well, we were sort of playing it at 14.
We were playing it. We were playing it, but it was our own version.
Yeah, but once we started reading it, it wasn't a challenge. There was no cognitive disability.
The math wasn't difficult. Some of the words were new. Like I didn't really understand what he meant when Gygax said verisimilitude. I had to look that one up. Right. But I mean, as far as like roll this number, Thaco is this, you got to get this, and saving throw is 14. You got to get a 14 or higher. Easy enough. I think some people we have people who just think if you have to add a number to a dice, it's too complicated.
Yeah, adding 2 whole numbers, I don't want to do that. It's math. You say the word math, people lose their crap. Our man says cinematic can mean not realistic, but like something you would see in the movies. Right.
Fair enough. That's good. I agree.
Oh, and I think we already said you can't really define good RPG. You can only give your opinion of what you think the RPG is. Mm-hmm. It's really going to, well, I guess you can perhaps name some standard things that RPGs should have. And if the RPG someone's presenting to you is 1 page and it says roll dice, you're done. That's not a good RPG. But because there's nothing to it.
It has to have mechanics that you can I think that you can use to make sense of the setting, whatever you're playing in. Yeah.
Right. So I just think if someone wants to say, I have some terms that I'm going to define and some standards I want to express, and by these definitions and standards, right, D&D falls short, I'm okay with that kind of argument.
Yeah, that for them it might be a poop RPG.
Yeah. And if someone just says, I don't like it, I think when people say D&D is not good, a good RPG, that is a stand-in for them. What they should really say is, I don't like it.
Correct. And that's it.
And people should just say that. It would get, what do you mean? I don't like it. Well, you could have just said that first, and we wouldn't have had to get, there's a lot of wasted words.
Yep. Fair enough. So the myth is busted. D&D is a fine RPG. It stood the test of time. Even 4th edition, as much as I love to hate it, a lot of people played it, had a hell of a good time with it. So whatever.
All right. So we can move on to random geekitude, and all we really need to talk about is tabletop event. Big Geek Con.
Yeah, baby.
Next week.
Well, no, hold on. What is today? Today's the 12th. So,
week after next?
No, you're right. Today's the 12th, so it would be
next week.
Not this weekend, but the next weekend.
Yeah.
22nd, 23rd, Friday and Saturday. at the 4 Points Hotel in Saginaw. So you can still get tickets on tabletop events. We've decided, Joe said, it's going to run its course, and you can get them till you can get them. So I don't know when it ends, probably sometime next week.
There's not really an off button for sales.
Okay. Sales. Gotcha.
I could just delete it, but I think it's better to leave it up until the it ends.
And we have now, let me share the schedule of events. This will be probably difficult to see. I'll try to make it bigger. Let me come all the way down. Whoa, baby. What is going on? Here we go. There's the first day, Friday. Come on.
Move it over one cell. They'll see all 3 times.
I'm trying, but it's okay. Hold on. Whoa, baby. There we go. They can see that?
Yeah.
Is it still tiny?
I can see that. I can't vouch for them.
Okay. I want to make it. Anyway, so you'll see there at 8 a.m. to 12, I'm running a session of my module, Tragedy at Tygon's Falls. A friend of our Phillips running a 5th edition 10th level adventure, baby. And Josh Zaharko's running Dungeon Battle of Brooklyn. That's the 3 games we have so far. There may be more. And then at 1:30, this is subject to change. The whole thing is Horde Wars maybe at 1:30. And then our very own Flady is going to do a coalition game for Rifts at 1:30. And a few other games. So I won't name them all. That's what we have here.
So
check it out.
What Flady's running is you're playing the bad guys. Essentially, just to let everybody here know, including Flady, coalition states are the bad guys, as well as all the monsters that are bad guys.
When the date passes, it stops ticket sales.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
We were hoping to be able to, or we were looking at maybe stopping ticket sales sooner. Or
I am trying to. Sorry, I'm licking my fingers. I'm trying to make this bigger. I can't make this larger. Is that because I'm in a cell?
Well, I'm not sure how to do that.
There we go. Elle says he only sees colors. Can you see that beautiful color? Purple. Tragedy at Tygon's Falls. Yes, a little self-promotion. In Rifts, there are no good guys. There is when I play. There is when I play, Darth.
There can be good guys. The PCs can be good guys. They don't have alignments. Oh yeah, they do. They have Palladium alignments. There are plenty of evil guys.
Yeah.
And right. Your folks who are running factions are generally not good guys.
I'm going to stop screen. To be fair, when I played with RPG as dumb, my good character did cause a town to be nuked. So maybe I can't be considered good. I didn't do it. I don't know.
Your character's soul is stained as much as your piece of paper has a soul.
Elle said he can read it now that I shut it off. No, he's
all right.
I'm sorry, Elle. I mean, we don't need to see
mission accomplished.
But those that are on the Discord channel can access that. And it's only changeable by me and you, right? So they can't make adjustments.
Correct.
You'll want to
anyone who wants to have a game added, or if you already have a game up there and there needs to be some editing, email Randy.
Yep.
Because he's doing that. He's in charge of that.
Yep. And I think there will be probably many adventures will be run multiple times. I know I'm running Tygon's Falls twice, and I think I'm going to also run another OSE game. I'll be using OSE in both my games just for simplicity. That will be modified OSE. I'm going to use Ascending Armor Class and a few other things, so it won't be just the classic OSE, but it'll be familiar. It won't be a difficult thing for anybody to get there.
Yeah, how much are you modifying it?
Teensy bit.
Okay.
I'm going to have some.
Understand the rules.
Mm-hmm. It'll be kind of old school D&D.
Yeah, if you know D&D, you know OSE.
Yeah, it's not tricky, and I'll bring the books if you need to read them, so it's all right.
Yeah, we started talking about Big Geek Con, and we lost like 5 viewers.
Well, I'm going to tell them, man. I guess
I don't know.
They're probably left to buy their tickets, and they're getting on the plane right now to come out here. That's probably what it is.
Right. Oh, you have the word modified repeated.
Modified repeated. Thank you, Elle. I will see if I can.
I thought I changed that. Did you change it back?
There's no telling. I do all kinds of crap when you're not looking. I can't get it.
Oh, yeah. It does still say 2 modified.
What is going on? My kingdom.
That is a Randy thing.
I'll fix it at some point, Al. Fair enough. So, yeah, it'll be mostly OSC.
OSC modified squared.
Yeah, slightly modified. You will not be confused. It will be a beautiful railroad, and you'll love every second of the train ride. So
beautiful railroad.
No complaining. Yeah.
Wear your engineer hat.
Don't mess with my narrative, baby.
You don't let you don't let Randy do what Randy wants to do.
That's right. Oh, Randy's. Oh, I'm doing what I want to do. You can't stop it.
Right.
Just get on the train.
It will be bad for you if you do not.
Yes.
You won't be playing.
No.
You'll just be sitting there watching other people play.
Well, that's how it works. I tell you what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you enjoy that experience.
No, you're not going to cast that spell. You're going to cast this other spell. Attack that other guy.
Oh, interesting. Elle said, look out, it's going to be 13th Age. Actually, it's not, but we may have a 13th Age adventure that I will not be running. So you'll get a chance to play that as well. Probably. One of our good friends is considering he's going to be an optional dungeon master should we need it. So,
cool.
2 days of great fun, and might even be a few prizes for folks out there. So
you might want to find out if the 5e game, the 5e game that's going to be run, if he's going to provide people with pre-gens.
He should be. Is that something I forgot to write on that? But now I can't even, I don't know what I've done. I'm actually going to get out of that. Give me a second here. I'm going to check. I believe Philip is going to have pre-gens for that game. And he calls it a competitive role-playing game.
Our man says every room has to have 2 different doors to choose from, or it is a railroad.
Well, then it's not a railroad. Every door will have. If there's no doors, is it okay?
Well, how would you get into the adventure if there are no doors?
Teleport. Planescape.
Planescape right on in there.
Right.
Flady asks, hoping to get my brother and I to select the games we're playing tomorrow after work. Okay, so I don't know that we didn't discuss this, what the sign up is going to be.
Okay, what's going to happen is you're going to show up, and when you get your badge for the event, you're going to go ahead and we're going to have a sign up board, and whoever first come, first serve, you can sign up for games and go. So get there early, stay late. That's how you get to play what you want.
Right. I figured that's what we were doing. We talked about that. I couldn't remember if we came up with anything else. Larry Elliott, you're just now showing up. We're getting ready to quit here.
He's been here. He's been listening. I know him. He showed up early.
Maybe he's been silent, Larry.
Yeah, Larry's running a 13th Age on Friday and Saturday as a backup, just in case. Yeah.
All right.
Flady says, the only door in my game will be the one the captain pushes you out of. Right on, baby. Dude, Flady's got it. Go do the adventure. That's what you came here for. Big crybaby. Gosh, player agency. Boop on that.
All right.
Yeah, go.
Are we good now? Remember, if you haven't already bought a ticket, but plan on showing up and crashing the party, tickets at the door will be $40.
Yes, that'll be for 2 days though. If you're going to stay for just one, we are going to cut them a deal.
Okay.
It's going to be $70. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a deal.
That's a deal. No.
For us.
Right. No, just kidding.
Which no one will go for.
I think our man's bummed about how the tickets are going to be given. Don't worry, we'll find you a game, brother. Don't worry. And most of our DMs are going to be pretty flexible about how many players are in there. I know if Joe was running a game, he'd run 47 players. He has no problem.
I'm sure there might be some way to figure things out for folks. I don't know that we want to have all of the DMs have their email.
Yeah.
I mean, the way we normally did things at Cabin Con was sometimes the games were decided, in advance.
Yes.
Just by talking. So I say, hey, Randy, I'm playing your game. And then you would say there are instead of 5 openings, there are 4 because you already
Correct.
understood Joe was going to be.
I don't want to get bombarded with that for this con, so we're going to keep that loose. But we'll find a way for you to get to play. I can imagine there'll be ways for you to play. We're planning on 4-hour slots. Elle asked, are they going to end on time? We hope.
Well, there's leeway between the slots. So,
yeah, an hour and a half between each slot, so you can get.
So even if they don't end perfectly on time, there's no big deal. We wanted to make sure that if people wanted to take a break between slots so they could eat something, or just take a breather, that they'd be able to do it.
And look, if you show up and can get 5 guys that want to run a game that's off the books, that's fine. These are the games we're offering. Other games can be offered. I actually have a couple ideas. I've got some irons in the fire for some gaming outside of the con, probably on the far side, maybe playing a late game one night, maybe 2 nights. Got some other people that want to do something a little bit off the beaten path.
Late night hotel room action.
sort of. Let's not say sort of. Jeez,
well, it won't be in the convention hall because it'll be closed.
Correct.
It will have to be in a hotel room. Yeah. So
exactly. I imagine with the number of people, I was doing a quick count. I mean, as long as people are willing to try some other games, not just I have to play this game at this slot, you're probably going to be pretty good to get probably almost whatever you want in. I mean, 2 slots can handle usually 12 or more people. So, I mean, and if people really wanted to play Tygon's Falls, if I had a third group that wanted to run through it, I would run it again. So this is just what I'm planning. We'll see how it goes. And I was hoping for more kids, but right now I think we've only got a couple of people under 14 even showing up. So it's all right.
It's a first con. From what I understand, they're all very small.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't get discouraged about that. We'll pick up. Yeah. We'll pick up.
We're trying to make it cool. Yeah, this is number 1, and hopefully it'll be good, and we'll see what happens. Anyway.
All right. Is that it for you?
I'm good, brother.
I'm good. So, if you'd like to support the show, please like, subscribe, and share us where you are listening or viewing. We are on the social medias. Randy just joined X.
He
the
did.
The dumbest named. Well, maybe not the dumbest named social media platform, but I think it's close. Didn't Facebook? Isn't Facebook changing their name too?
Oh, do they got to do that too? They can't handle the truth.
I'm thinking that that there's some other word for it that they're using, but
okay,
it still says Facebook on the app, so at least there's that.
Yeah.
So, if you want to send us some cash support, we are on PayPal, Streamlabs, Ko-Fi, and Patreon. Patreon, currently, we're probably going to do some reconsidering Patreon. But if you are currently on Patreon, the 2 of you, please stay there.
What, are you going to give them some stuff finally?
I was thinking we could give them a coupon on Big Geek Emporium for the PDF. Hopefully they haven't already. None of them have already bought the PDF. I think maybe Pat did.
We could always give them a coupon anyway, because we're really we got to talk about that because our Patreon's not supporting like it should, and we apologize for you Patreon supporters.
The 2 of you.
Well, still, I mean, that's 2 people we should be sending crap to. So
Meta, it's part of Meta, Facebook.
Oh, geez, Louise.
Yeah.
I'm probably eventually leaving all social media. It's probably going to happen
because we're not sociable, but we are on the web. Big Geek Emporium is where you can see lots of cool game products. Many of it is free. Much of it is free. Much of it is free. Lots of it, I would say all of it is well priced. Even the print-on-demand stuff, I think, is lower priced than a lot of the other stuff out there.
Hey, is my game available yet on print-on-demand?
I will see if the print job went through.
Okay, cool. Oh, I will have those. I'll have about 20-something copies for my game for sale.
Oh, yeah. So coming up at Big Geek Con, print copies of Randy's Adventure, Tragedy at Tygon's Falls.
Yes.
And if you need to send us any email, thegeeks@biggestgeekespodcast.com. Are we ready to get out of here?
Let's boogie, man. Thanks, everybody. It has been awesome.
Yes, it has. This is Joe.
And this is Randy.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.